So can you all see my screen? Can anyone confirm if you are able to see my screen? Yeah, thank you. So yes, so today I'm going to tell you about the loops and conditional statements as well. If else, right? We have all those things. So what I will do is, can everyone mute themselves if they are not speaking? I'll create a class called loops, or better, I'll just create a package called loops. I'll just create one separate package, and inside this, I'll create a class. This, so example, I'll just create a main method and then finish. So what do we have here? We have a class with a main method, right? So inside this main method, so loops and conditional statements as well as I said. Now let's say we have a variable value whose a variable with a whose value is, let's say, 10, and so here first thing, what do we have? I'll say, like, based on certain condition I want to do something else. Like if we have such scenario, such requirement wherein, okay, if on certain things, here for an example I would say, if my a value is kind of equal to some value or less than or some greater than, so we have a comparison here for our value, right? So based on the comparison and the condition that's satisfied, so we want to do some part of the code, let's say. So here I will use, so syntax first of all for that would be, yeah, if you are using if then else or something, so we have if. So keywords should be in the same way as we declare it. So if you give something on your own custom ones, so it might Java doesn't know, as I said, internally they have written in kind of that way. So here we write if, and then we give condition here inside the bracket, and then we open and close the braces. So whenever a particular condition, whatever you have mentioned inside this brackets, if it satisfies, then only it would do some part of the code, whatever you write here. So this would be executed. And now, let's say, what if the condition doesn't satisfy? So in that case, it would move on with the next step, which is else. And else, again, inside else, whatever you write, only if the condition is satisfied or true. So satisfied or true is a, just use multi-line counts. So we have this if condition, and then the else. So if when the condition is satisfied, basically it would move inside this loop, whatever you have written just after that. So from close braces, open braces to close braces. So whatever you do in that particular part, it would execute it only if condition is true. What if the condition is not false or false? Then it would be move on, it would move inside this else block, and in else block whatever you write it here, so this would be executed only if condition is not satisfied or false. So this is if condition, if and else. So I'll show you with a basic program. So let's say we have a value called 10, or instead of a I would say number as 10. So how do we write this condition? I would say based on my certain requirement, which I want to print a value, if a certain value is less than 10, let's say, so I want to print whatever the value user has given, or whatever the value we have given into that variable is less than 10. And if it is not less than 10, then like whatever value we give, if it is greater than 10, then we'll just print it's the value is greater than 10. So how do we do that? So we use if as per our syntax, and then condition. So what condition is? So our condition is whatever the number we give, which the variable that I've declared here, that number should be less than, I would say for now, 20. Let's say I will take this. So if the value, the number that whatever we give is less than 20, then I want to print here saying oh, the number is great less than 10. Less than 20. So since our condition is this 20, so I'm giving that same thing here. So less than, we are just comparing if the number whatever we give is less than this value. And then even this thing we can write. And now let's say it's not compulsory or it's mandatory that we need whenever we write if, we need else for sure. But I would say as a good practice, it's better to write else condition as well. But for now, yeah, let's execute this one. So what have we done? We just created a variable, and then we have written one conditional statement here saying okay, if the number whatever I give, or whatever that variable holds this value, if it is less than 20, I just want to print it. So when I execute, what does it do? So number 10 would come here, and then so 10 is less than or less than 20. It just checks that. So when it compares, yes, obviously 10 is less than 20. And then since the condition is satisfied, so it goes inside this block. And then inside this, whatever you have said, it would do. So here we are just saying to print this particular statement. So it might print it. So when you execute it, so you see number was 10, and then it came here, 10 is less than 20, condition was true. So as we said, if it is true only, then this block would be executed. So that's why it has executed this thing. So how to make it false, this condition? I said this value, number value, I would give 30. And when I execute, so you see executed, but nothing has happened. Why? Inside this main, there's only one first statement is it holds this value, storing this value into a number variable, and then 30 is there, right? So next thing here, 30, it checks here if there's an if condition wherein 30 is less than 20. Since the condition is not true, so since it is false, so what it does is it would not go to this particular block. So it would go after this 19. So after 19, what have you done? You have done nothing, and the main block was closed. So this way it has done nothing. Now here, so similar way, like even if it is this thing, so we want to say the number is less than 20, we just want to do this. We also have another condition saying if it is not, then I would say the number is greater than, we can print the number is greater than 20. And now when you execute, so based on value 30, so our expectation is it should print number is greater than 30, 20. And this one, so here if we give value which is like 15. So obviously that number is less than 20. So it prints less than 20. So we can also write like what if the number is 20 itself here. Now when we give that 20 and when we execute, you see, uh, so what it is doing. So first thing it checks this inside this. So 20 is less than 20. So when you compare that, so 20 is not less than 20, right? In a general sense. So since it is not equals, so this condition is not satisfied. That's why it's going in the else block and it is printing the number is greater than 20. But actually it's not greater than 20. It's equal to 20, right? So which means we also have to write either our statement, we need to change it saying it the number is greater than or equal to 20, or else for 20 equal we also have to do we have to also check another condition, I would say. So instead of this I would say check first if number is equal to 20. Single equal to, if you give, what are we doing in general, this Java thing, whenever we give just one single thing, which means we are just assigning some value to a variable. Here in the same way in condition, when you give this thing, so which means internally Java would identify this you are trying to assign 20 to a number variable, but here in this condition we are not assigning, we are comparing two values, right? So for comparison purpose, instead of single equals we give double equals. So here now we are comparing this number to be equal to 20. If it is equal, then we will change our statement saying the number is equal to 20. Else, so what can be the other possibility? So first thing is we compare this thing, then in the next statement, if it is 20 it would print this, right? So when we execute, you see this 20, so this condition is satisfied and this gets printed. Now what if we say 30 and we execute it? So 30, the number is greater than 20, it says, which is true. So what if we know there's some other condition as well? If the number is 10, so in this case what it should do, it should not say number is greater than 20, right? Because if it is 20 it does this block, but if it is not 20 then only it does this. But inside this again we have to uh, write certain conditions, or here we can say else if whatever the number is there, number equal to or no, we just want to compare greater than less than, right? So if it is less than 20 or greater than, I would say, if the number is greater than 20, then I want this to be printed, number is greater than 20. Then in the last statement you can write just else, or else if again on the condition, so number less than 20. So for this we just write number is less than. So this way, so in this way what it does, so whatever number you give, based on that it goes to certain loop, certain block of code, and that is what our requirement is. Our based on some certain conditions we just want to execute certain blocks of code. So that's why uh, so here we see number is 10, so when we execute, so what it does actually, let me execute it. So I put a debugger point for now. uh, so you see number here in the variable it is 10. So with this line Java has already executed and it has stored created a number variable and value assigned was 10. So after this, it is now waiting at this green color point. So from here, what do we want to do? So number is 10. How do we generally debug it? So 10 is equal to 20. Is it true? It is not, right? So since it is not true, that statement is not true. So which means it won't execute this one. And then we say next one. So it, see, if we just move to the next line, it is not executing this one and it is checking the next condition. So what is the next condition? Else if number is greater than 20. So what do we have in number? Value as 10. So 10 is greater than 20. It is not, right? So since it is not, it even doesn't do this thing. So step over, and then you see now this third condition. When you just mouse over, you would also get the value. So this number is 10. So 10 is less than 20. There's another condition. And now this condition is being satisfied. Since this condition is satisfied, it goes inside this loop. Now you see this arrow mark. So you see when I say next step, it doesn't go outside. It goes inside that loop. You see next time inside this loop, and then whatever you have written here, it would be printed here on the console. So it's waiting, it has not executed this point. It is about to execute. So when we say okay, we are good with this step, let's move with the next. As soon as we say next, it prints that statement. So same way, now this main loop and then continue. So this is how we can debug as well. So we have a number, and then based on certain conditions, what it does, how is it navigating internally. If we just want to see, we can put a debugger point. How to put a debugger point? Just click on this just before this line numbers, wherever you see. So you just double click it. So once you double click it, it is nothing but we are debugging it. And then just right click and run debug as Java application. So here we have two debugger points. You see now Java is not even initialized that value because we have not executed this line. It's just Java has come inside this main method. And now before this ninth line, Java, like before this ninth line, whatever lines are there, Java has executed and it has done nothing because there's nothing written. So at ninth point, when I say, okay, we are good with this. So when I say execute, move to the next step, as soon as I click, you see value is assigned. Same way next conditions. And then, yeah, if we are good with this, we can even say continue, resume, and then it just does whatever steps are there, and then it prints. So based on certain conditions satisfied, and then it prints this. The same way here, instead of this thing, let's say we have 20 or 20 as the value. And now if I want to execute, so here what do we know? Oh, sorry, I didn't execute it as debugger. So right click this. So you see it is waiting at this point. I would say, okay, this is fine. Go to the next one. So it goes here, and then I would say, yeah. So if this condition is satisfied, so you see 20 is equal to 20. Condition is satisfied. Then it goes inside this loop. So I say next step. So it's going inside and not it's not checking other conditions. It's just checking this thing. Since it is satisfied, it moves inside this block and then it executes. Once it is executed, it doesn't check the next conditions. So it's just doing this end step, and then once this end step is done, that's it. To the end of this method. That's it. It prints this. So I hope this if else condition is clear. Even this nested if else if conditions whatever we have written is clear. Can someone confirm if it is clear? Yeah. So this was if else conditions. Now go to the project explorer. So this was just if, right? Now or create another class. Created another class, and now instead of if else. So here inside this is again, so number is 20, and what if this conditions, let's say, just want to comment out. Keep that class as it is. I'll just do changes here. I don't want to do this stuffs and with semicolon. So these are also another conditions what we can use: less than, greater than, equal to, not equals to. So for that also, or we can write a general statement saying if true. So based on certain conditions, if it does don't want to check, and if we just want to execute some certain block using this if, we can make the condition itself as true or false, whatever you write. So here this thing, for now I would say if some this true, so this statement would be executed every time, executes every time when this point is encountered. So because the condition you have always set it as true, so customized conditions if we also want to give, and that way we can do this. Or I just don't want this, and then I said not equals to as well we can use. So what if number we use, and for not equals to we use this exclamation mark, and this not equals to 30. So what I'm saying, I want this to be executed only when the number is not 30. So 20, since 20 is not equals to 30, when I execute this one, it just prints this. And if I give any number now, 80, 90, since all this number is not equals to this thing, so it says condition is satisfied, and then it moves inside this block, right? So only when does this condition fails? Condition would fail only when I've given a value as 30, and I've said 30 not equals to 30. Is it true? It is not, right? So since this condition is false, then it sees the next step, what you have done. And next step, if you have not done anything, so it exits. That's it. It doesn't do anything. You see that way. So you can give not equals to as well. So this basic thing, we will use it later in our Selenium framework as well. So that's why if things are not clear, please let me know, so I'll try to clear it out. So this was about the if else, right? Now we'll move on with the actual loops thing. So why do we need loops? So and what are loops available in Java? So let's say we have our previous example wherein I already told you about, yeah, there is something that I wanted to print, right? Do some step repeated times. So that repeated times, this thing, just in the loop. So we had this code, right? So some variable value is there here, and that one we have stored it in some variable, and then we are printing it. Now how many times we wanted 4 times, that's why we printed this 4 times. So 100 times if you want, just 100 times writing is not an ideal solution. So for that we have loops, which means it just repeats some certain code, whatever you have written in that block, if you want to just repeat it to n number of times. So n can be either 1, 10, 100, or whatever we want. So that point, if we just give it, so we use for condition in that. So how to use for loop? So what's a syntax for this thing? So we have a for keyword, and then here inside this bracket, we just have to initialize a variable, initialize the variable, and then whatever the variable we have used. So first block is just give some value here, a certain value, initial value, and then next we have ended this with semicolon, and inside this the next one would be to check the condition. So whatever condition we want, based on some certain condition, we want to iterate this loop, right? So that condition we need to write next, and after that the third one comes is either what operator or increment or decrement we generally do. So based on certain a logic, we just want to iterate our loop, right? So here whatever you write it, so based on this three, so these three sections wherein we initialize, then check the condition, and based on certain operator like increment or decrement, we just want to iterate the loop. So this is the syntax for loop. So let's write one program. So same thing. So 4 times you wanted to print a certain condition, you just wanted to do it 4 times, right? So how to write it using this loops? So we use a for and then initialize. So here initial value, let's say I just want to give a integer variable or count, I would say count equals to 1. So and then we have initialized variable, right? So our variable name is count, the value is starting value of this count is 1, and then the condition, what's condition we want? So condition is count should be less than, for now I'll say 4. You see what happens. So here we have this less than 4, and then increment or decrement. So from 1 we want to move till 4, right? So what we do here, we write count plus plus. So this plus plus operator is what it is, that whatever value this variable holds, we are just incrementing it by 1. Count plus 1 also we can say, count equals to count plus 1, and then it iterates that. But this syntaxes we generally follow. So this kind of count initial value, since it would be 1, then this particular statement when you execute, it says 1 plus. So first time when we have this value as 1, and when we are incrementing, so 1 would change it to 2, and then it, I just don't want to confuse this for now. So first thing what it does, initialize the value, and then second thing what it does is, as I said, it checks the condition. So 1 is less than 4. So does this condition satisfy? Yes, it does, right? So 1 is less than obviously 4, and since it is the condition is true, so whatever the block of code you have written would be executed. So I just want to print, so I just want to print here this variable, as I said. So instead of this all things, I'm not doing anything, and this variable 1 value I just want to print. So I would use that variable 1. So with this particular line of code, what it does, initially count value is 1 and the condition is satisfied. Since the condition is satisfied, it doesn't go here. So since condition is satisfied, it goes to the true statement block. Here there won't be any block false kind of in if and else we had, right? So it's not that. Only thing is this particular block would be executed when the condition is true. So first time initial value count is 1, so it prints this. So this value whatever you have written, I'll say repeat something, so repeat would be printed next. So what it does is After doing the piece of code, whatever you have written, then it checks the condition, like it increments or decrements this operator. So one was the value, and then it has incremented it to 2. Now that 2, it just check again the condition. So 2 is less than 4, yes it is, and then it prints this. Then it increments the value of that count variable to 3, and then 3 is less than 4, yes it is, so it executes this. Then count value is changed to 4. Now 4 is less than 4. So is this condition true or false? So 4 is less than 4, condition is false, right? So it's not obviously equal to 4. 4 is less than 4. So obviously for in this thing, here we have condition as false. So since the condition is false, so it comes out of this loop now. And after this, whatever lines of code you have written, it does that thing. Since we are not doing anything, we just want this thing. That's it. We just stop it here. So how many times does it has printed condition for I'll just debug and then I'll show you. It would be more understanding for you. So I've put a debugger point for this for condition. Right click, debug, run as Java application, and then here you see variable 1 value is initialized and the value is repeat. After this, now the pointer is at this line. So we just want to move to the next statement. So next statement is what? Count, where count value was 1, and then condition 1 was less than 4, so that's why it has come inside. And then you see in here in the output, it has not yet printed because we have not executed this. So let's say we just want to execute it. Once I execute, one time it has printed, right? Next thing, what's the count variable? You check this properly. Now count variable was 1, and now it's about to execute this line. Inside this line, as I said, it would execute this one. So count plus plus. So after this statement, count value was 2, and then 2 was less than 4. Since 2 was less than 4, that's why it has moved inside this loop. And then if we execute this line, it would be printed again, second one. So you see, second time it has printed. So second time when it has printed, again it is checking here, it is coming and checking, incrementing this count. It also increments and then check the condition. So count value when we execute next time, it would be 3. 3 is less than 4. So since 3 is less than 4, again it comes inside this loop. You see, count value becomes 3, and then 3 is less than 4, and it has come here. And then when we execute, one more print statement would be done here. You see, third time. Now next time, count value becomes 4. So from 3, when this line executes, it becomes 4, and then 4 is less than 4. As I said, the condition is not satisfied, and then that's why it has come outside this main, now this main method, and it is about to end. So we can just continue, and then yeah, so 3 times. But since we just wanted it to execute till 4 times, what we can do is 1. So we can say less than or equals to 4. We can check a condition called less than or equals to 4. So this thing, instead of 3, it would be executed 4 times. So you see, this is 4 times. So if you don't want to use this operator, then what you can do is check for the value as 5. So from 1 till 4 it does. If you say execute this thing, 4 times it has done. Or if you have given 4 over here, and then instead of count starting from 1, you can start it from 0 as well, or from any negative value. So whatever the starting point you give, from there till 4 times, if you want to do, make it make that condition satisfied for that number of times and do it. So now instead of 4, what's so I'll use better 1, and I'll use less than or equal to operator. So 4 times. So it does 4 times check. Instead of this, now there's only one line and for statement. So it's not like, why do we can just copy paste, you can say. But what if there are hundreds of lines inside this for loop, and that hundreds of times we want to repeat it hundreds of times? So number of lines of code, again Java, what it says, so do it in more optimized ways, no, nicer, like kind of maintenance would also be easy. And if you want to revisit our code and do some changes, so here we can just change. If you have written thousands of lines, in that thousands of lines, hundreds of lines, if we wanted to change, it's not an easy, like easy thing, right? So it becomes complex to do that one. So here, in one particular this loop, if we just write that block, and this block would repeat it for the number of times. So here if I just come and I would just change it to 100, so I want to repeat this loop for 100 times, so 100 times it just prints this is 100 times it does. So for loop is that. Now after this for, so what
Pradeep,
was, yeah,
one doubt I have. In for loop, we are initializing variable first. Can we do it before for loop also?
yes you can.
Before
So
starting for loop, can we initialize variable?
yes, so this part you just want to do it here, you're saying, right?
Yes, yeah.
uh, but again then this part would become empty. So if you have done this one, so initialize, you are not doing anything in this loop, so that way you just have to give an empty thing. Or else if you don't give this, then this doesn't understand whatever this thing you are giving, is it initializing variable part or the condition. So we know it should end with semicolons, right? So that way what you have to do is, these three things we need to have for sure, these two things, sorry. So
Two
this
things.
thing, so one is here initializing variable, and this
Initializing.
you don't want to do, so you have done it here. And then second part is condition, so condition check here you should be doing. And then the third one is either decrement or increment the operator.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so this was for, right? Now when do we use for? And we also have another statement, instead of this for we can use while. So I'm uh, just changing it. That's not comment. So only one time I'm making this condition satisfy only one time, that's why I've written it. Now it's been done, right? Next thing, we also have while loop and do while. So I'll say about while now. Now for while, what would be the syntax? Just use this while keyword, and then again same condition. So here whatever condition you give, so this block of code would be executed. Same thing just like for whatever block you're in. So here we have initialize and then check condition and then increment or decrement. So for while, what we can do is we just have condition, and if certain condition is satisfied, we want to do something. So that way, here I would use, I just want to give the condition. So same thing, instead of for, I'll do that in while statement here. How do we do? Condition, as we know, or I would use another variable instead of int count variable for while. I would say initial value I'm just giving one. So we have variable, and this variable it holds a value one. And so condition is what I want to do this same condition here, whatever we were giving. So less than or equals to 10 times. That's it. So condition is this, and then inside this I just want to execute, print that, or here is, okay, just before this, so this syntax I'll make it proper, because so here we are printing, right? So once we print, so it does same thing, like 10 or 100 if we say, it does that many times, right? So instead of this, let's say we also want to execute uh, not the same code but a different value every time when this is executed. Either we can print a variable as count, which means initially first the count value would be 1 and 1 gets printed. Next time count value is increased to 2 and then checks the condition, and next time it prints 2. So 2, 3, 4, 5 till wherever the condition is satisfied, it just prints that. So if you just give that variable, it is doing, you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that variable as well, we are just dynamically executing, giving the value as different, and that we wanted to print. So 1 to 10, if you just wanted to print, we use this kind of syntax: initialize that value, starting point, and then print condition, and then inside this just print that variable. So you can do that one. And same thing, let's say I want to do it here. I would while next is while answer. This was for. So what was our variable? We initialize this one, right? Variable value is 1 and then condition. And what are we asking to print? So we just want to print same variable value, let's say. So when we execute this, so this value is 1 and then 1 is less than or equals to 10, condition satisfies, it prints this. And next time again it goes, it doesn't go here, again it checks for the condition. So next time 1 is again less than 10 and then it prints this, and next time 1 is less than 10 does this. It keeps on doing, right? It's not doing till 10 times, because uh, here in our code we are just saying to print it. And since the condition is true every time with this piece of block, this piece of code, whatever we have written, since condition uh, is true all the time, so this loop, it goes forever, infinite loop, and then we won't get our desired result. But we don't want to do this thing, right? We just want to uh, execute this particular loop till 10 times. So how do we do here? What we can say is, just like for initial value we have done, condition we have given, only thing is how did for stop? Based on this increment or decrement, and then the condition, we were making condition at certain point as false. So same thing we should do in even in while loop. So here we have 10, right? Here I would say increment the count while, the whatever variable we have used, just keep on incrementing by 1 or by 2 or whatever your condition you want. So we can do this way, or we can say count while equals to count while plus 1 as well, which means, so first time one value, condition satisfied, executes this, and then next line here 1, count while variable value was 1, so 1 plus 1 is 2. So it same variable again, after execution of this line, it holds value as 2. After 2, it goes and checks the condition. So 2 is less than or equals to 10. Yes, it is. It prints. And then 2 plus 1, 3. Checks the condition. 3 is less than, yes. Does it till 9. And then 10. 10 is less than 10. Satisfies. And then 11. Here the value gets 11. And 11 is less than or equals to 10. condition doesn't satisfy, then it moves out of this while loop, and whatever you have written next lines, it does that. So now here I'll execute it. See, so if you see the output, you see for first time for loop we have done that way. Next thing, while we executed it, so while starts from 1 and again till 10. So this is about while, and we have done while. What about do while? So do while is nothing but do while. So in while and do while, difference is only in do statement it would execute whatever piece of code you have written at least once. At least once it executes this one, whatever lines. It's not like we just have to write this. So whatever you want to do, so that part at least once, if you want to do, you just write a do, and then a while certain condition, based on certain condition, if you just want to again repeat this particular thing or not, for that thing we can just say so here we have to give that condition. So same variable I would say, or I'll declare another variable, int count do while, again starting from 1, and that variable condition here we can check. So same thing, less than 10 I would say. Okay, so here I'm ending, after this while thing I'm just ending that statement. So but here if you see I've not ended, right, since it's just the beginning start point and then the end point. So here we don't have to write. So this syntax you just remember it properly. So write a do statement whatever you want to do, and then uh, this condition. So this condition again, if we just execute, it does, you see, prints this once, and then condition count do while value is 1 satisfies, comes here again do this. So again you see it would go to infinite loop. We don't want to do that. We need to make sure whenever you are using while, do while, we have to give the exit point. So some exit point we need to define it, else Java keeps on executing that point of, and it might throw error saying okay, when should I stop. So if it keeps on executing, there's no point, right? So that's why the endpoint we need to specify. So same way here, you can define endpoint in your do statement as well. What you can do, so uh, count variable, let's say after execution, I just want to change that value. So same condition, same just like that, we'll also increment this value. That's it. So now if you execute, you see at least once. So after do while it has done, and then it has done how many times? 1 2 3. Well, let's say instead of this I just don't want to print this static one, I want to print the value of this variable, and then execute. See, do while 1 2 3 10. So just change the condition, and then it does that many number of times. Or we already, okay, I'll debug it for your better understanding again. So I've put a debugger for loop, Java, I executed it, and now you see variable 1, it has initialized this thing. And now let's say we just want to move one by one, step 1. So count is 1. It, you see this, for it has printed because we have asked, and then it is moving to the for statement. Inside for, count is 1, right? So 1 is, it has come inside this loop, and then this line, what it does, it just prints 1 because we are asking it to print, right? So first time it just print 1, and then now check the count value. Because of this increment it changes to 2, and then this condition also it checks. If it's satisfied, it goes inside. You see, count value was 2, condition satisfied, then it prints 2. You see 2 has come here. And then next time, okay, next step, what is that? Count value is 3, condition satisfied, 3 printed. So likewise 4. You see, step by step. So it's going till a certain point. Now count value is 9, it prints 9. It has printed till 8. Now it is about to print 9. When I say run, it has printed 9. Now at this particular point, the value gets count value is 10, executes, condition satisfied, even 10 is printed. After this, the count value becomes 11, and 11 condition is like 11 less than 10. No, condition is not satisfied, so it goes outside. And after that, it is now at this point. And then till this point, if you see, only for loop it has executed, and this loop whatever you have given, it is repeated till here. Next thing, 19th line, it is about to print this. So when I say next line, so it prints while. And then again same thing. So if you just want to see step by step, you see while 1, count value, count while as 2, and that 2 it just check this condition, and condition satisfied, then it goes inside this. So this way, step by step, same thing. Or let's say you are okay and now you just don't want to debug, you can just resume this continuation, and it does till end and stops. So I hope this debugger thing is also clear. So this one, and while, do while, for loop. So these are the basic ones which we generally use. And there is a switch statement as well. I just want to tell, but I'm not sure if we have the time up, or we have another 5 minutes. So does anyone have doubt?
Hello,
If
Pradeep,
you
can we have an example like with the decrement scenario?
right. Okay, sure. Oh, okay, I'll take on another this thing, loop 3. So any loop, or specific you want for, while, do while, which one?
Any loop.
Right. Okay. So we'll start with for. I will say for. What was our mission? This thing. Just copy paste just to save time. Paste. So now first thing, initializing value. So I just our this thing is initially, let's start from 10 value. So since we want to decrement, so our initial value would be 10, and from 10 to 1 we want to do. So we know there should be these 3 sections, right? One, we have declared value. Second thing, condition. And third thing, as you said, you want to decrement it. So count minus minus. It's just instead of plus, you say minus minus. And initial value is 10, right? So from 10, next, if you just decrement, it becomes 9. And then decrement 8, 7, 6, 5. So it goes on. So here, based on condition, it stops. So condition would be count. I just want this count to be greater than 0. Till greater than 0, I just want to repeat this loop. So this thing, if you just execute, now you would get what? From 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You see, even if you want 0, then greater than or equal to. You can mention that and then execute this. You would have 0 here as well. So this thing, and so same way to the other loops also you can apply. So give a maximum value. From maximum you want to come to minimum. So then the condition, you see what you can give. So based on that certain condition, here instead of incrementing, you can say decrementing, minus minus. So count while is count while minus 1, that way. So is it clear? Sorry, I didn't know you. Who was this? Whose question?
This was Rahul, Pradeep.
Ra.
It
Yeah,
is
yeah,
clear.
yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Right. So I hope this is clear. So this again, yeah, switch statement that I wanted to tell, but I guess we are done for the day. So tomorrow I would tell about the switch statement, and then the other ones. I'll see. We have exceptional handling and all those. So yeah, anyone else has any doubts?
Yeah, Pradeep, one more doubt I have. Like, for which scenarios we need to go for while for loop, or and
Right.
for which scenarios we need to go for while?
Right.
Will give some
So
suggestions. Like,
sure, sure. So yeah, that's a good question, I would say. So for generally we prefer when we know the end point of our loop iteration. So if we know when to end, so from 1 to 100, since we know at initial value 1 to 100 we just want to do it, so at that point of time we would use a for statement for this thing, for loop. And about while, only thing is when the end is not sure, so here we are giving the condition, but sometimes this condition, certain conditions, so this is for this particular scenario, we know we just have to do this till this point. That's why we have given that condition. But the other ones, so let's say from 1 to 100, let's say you just want to do it some certain amount of time. Not every time you would say 100 times I want to do. I might have to do 10 times, I might have to do 20 times, I might have to do 80 times. So that condition, it keeps changing, right? So based even that condition on certain condition as well, you just want to iterate your loop. So since the end point is not sure, in that cases we generally prefer using this while statement. And do while, at least do it once, and then based on certain condition again we do this. So end point, only thing is end point, if you know, use the for. If endpoints is not sure, if you're not sure, then you use while, and then inside this while loop you just write what would be the condition till when you want this particular loop to be executed. So here you do write some lines of code wherein the condition you need to make it as false, because if you don't make it as false, it just keeps on executing till end, right? So infinite times.
yes,
Yeah.
it is clear, Pradeep. Thanks.
Right. Thank you, Rahul. And anyone else?
No, Pradeep.
Yeah. Okay, then I guess we are good to close for today's session. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, Pradeep. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you.